Let me go next to Mike from Boston. Mike from Boston, we haven't heard from for a little while, I guess. What's going on with you, Mike?
Hi, David. Thanks for taking my call.
Pleasure.
Um, I just want to respond to this and kind of get your view on it. Um, a couple callers ago, I'm really getting sick of these delusional people out there. And some of the people on other progressive podcasts and blogs, people, like Crystal Ball on Rising, and I know he's your friend Kyle Kulinski on Secular Talk, who are just so anti-Joe Biden,
Mm.
and they seem to be out for blood for him. And I really can't understand why. If this crisis right now that we are going through, it does not signal to people that Trump must be removed at all costs.
Right.
You are not only irresponsible, you are borderline uh, selfish, just and not caring about the lives that are being lost.
So
And
let's
look,
take that
I was
piece
a
by
Bernie
piece.
supporter.
Let's take that piece by piece, Mike. So first of all, I have no idea what Crystal and Kyle have been saying. Again, I just don't watch shows. I work on my show, 12 hours a day, and then I relax with some stuff that's not political content. But so let's go through it in pieces. First of all, remove Trump at all costs. Not if you're going to replace him with something worse, right? So, like, I've made the calculation that Biden is better than Trump. That's why I am going to vote for Joe Biden to replace Trump. If you give me an option that's worse than Trump, then I say keep Trump because I want to do harm reduction. That part probably we agree on, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, but the only realistic choices, you're either going to
I agree. At this point in
vote
time,
for
these are
Joe
the options.
Biden,
It's Joe Biden or it's Donald Trump. Now,
right?
why would Crystal? I'm taking your word that Crystal and Kyle are very much anti-Trump, as you point out. My guess is if you ask them why, they would say that it's because maybe they don't see Biden as better than Trump, or they see Biden being elected as a path to something that doesn't fix the problem in the longer term. You'd have to ask them, right? I mean, you're asking me about stuff I haven't seen. My guess is if you ask them, they would have a different perspective about, and they would be able to articulate why they are as anti-Biden as you described them to be. I've made my view clear, which is when I look at history, I don't see accelerationist theory as having worked and accelerationist perspectives as having worked. I see we have succeeded through getting people in power who will make responsible choices to the Supreme Court, which will then uphold the improvements that are made by the people that we elect. That's what I've seen in the progressive era, the New Deal era, and the civil rights era. So that's how I have established my framework. And I think what you're pointing to is somebody who has a different framework.
I would say so, yes. I mean, but I just don't get the point in it. I mean, I don't think I look at the landscape in the country, the way that this crisis is being handled, the way that the last 3.5 years has gone, and I don't think this country can handle another 4 years of Donald Trump in
I
any
happen to
way.
agree with you.
And
I
look,
happen to agree with you. I mean, listen, so everybody has to figure out what works for them. As I've said before, somebody doesn't want to vote Biden because they actually believe the country is better off with Biden losing and Trump getting 4 more years, then they shouldn't vote Biden, right? But I want everybody to be clear. And there's a contingent that I'm seeing, not Kyle and Crystal, but stuff like I'll look at my subreddit each day and I'll look at my Twitter mentions each day, where there are people who are doing an anti-Biden thing, but they're not actually saying they think Trump is better. So then it's like, well, what are you just posturing, or are you trying to get a certain reaction? Are you trying to get Joe to come beg for your vote or whatnot? Like, I don't need any of that stuff.
they're
I'm
mad.
plenty busy.
You
I'm
know
just
what?
like,
You know
Biden's
what,
better. I'm
David?
voting for Biden.
They're mad that they didn't get their guy, and their guy was Bernie Sanders, and I was a Bernie Sanders guy,
Okay.
and I understand the disappointment.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes when there's no great choice and there's no right answer, you do what you got to do and take the best option available to you. Is all I'm trying to
That's
say.
my perspective. And what I think is important to do is I don't see any benefit in going around and attacking the motives of Crystal and Kyle. Like, again, I'm going by what you're telling me, but if they've come to the conclusion that they're never voting Biden, and I'm not saying that that's what I don't know if that's what they're doing, but if they did, My instinct is to assume, again, because I know them to some degree, I assume that they've come to that conclusion through some different framework than I have, rather than they don't care about death, like you said. I mean, clearly they both care about death. I know them well enough to know they care about people dying. I'm guessing they're working with a different framework.
Right. I guess my point is that I guess what I'm trying to say is that if, in my opinion, in my view, if you really care about the well-being of this country, and you were a Bernie Sanders supporter or an Elizabeth Warren supporter, and you're looking at this election and you're just going to say, well, you know what, if I couldn't just get my guy, and if we can't have it all or nothing right now, then
Right.
I don't really care what happens to the country. I'm going to vote third party or not vote at all, or and do whatever. I think you're extremely off base and extremely selfish and not really caring about a lot of the suffering that's going on with some of these people right now.
Yeah, so Mike, it sounds like your frustration is that there are people who are coming to different conclusions than you, and you're frustrated by that because for you, the conclusion you've come to is so obvious.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I was going to vote for whoever the Democratic nominee was. That's just how I went into this whole, election cycle, which was going, because I've seen what happens when you make irresponsible choices, and I just think they're being irresponsible. Thanks, David.
All right, Mike from Boston, great to hear from you. Let's see if we can check in with our caller from the 616 area code. Who is calling today from 616?
I think that's me.
Yes, it is.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hi, David. Thanks for choosing my number. This is Justin from Michigan.
Hey, Justin.
The West Side. This is a bit more of a technical question here, but just to jump right in, I don't recall you commenting on the Israeli-Palestinian deal of the century, quote unquote, proposed by Trump, which was largely drafted by Jared Kushner. So if you've seen the proposed map, the potential Palestinian state looks like scattered islands, more or less, within the Negev desert. And as you probably heard, Gantz and Netanyahu just recently signed an agreement to essentially annex large swaths of the West Bank, seeming in tandem with this plan, just to complete it before the 2020 election. And just sort of, or this is speculative here, but and also to sort of sweep it under the rug during the coronavirus pandemic. So my question is, what do you think of the plan? Is it in any way feasible? And isn't it sort of a slap in the face to Palestinian aspirations of a statehood along the 1967 borders? I know it's loaded, but hey, here's some foreign policy for you.
So is this, by this, when you say that this is the deal from about a year ago, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did comment on it at the time and did one or two pretty detailed clips about it. I don't have the map in front of me, but certainly I've spoken before about the importance of, having a contiguous Palestinian state. Without having all of the details refreshed right in front of me, I wouldn't be able to say anything more than what I said a year ago or whenever when I covered it. Although what I will restate is I simply do not believe that the arbiters to a long-lasting deal in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict are going to be Benjamin Netanyahu, nor any deal in which Hamas is involved. That I've been saying that for years. I maintain that is the case. That will not be the case. That won't work. And beyond that, I haven't looked at the deal for a year, and I would check out my prior commentary on it.
Mm-hmm. Can I follow that up quickly?
Sure.
So would you then argue that any plan should begin with the Palestinian Authority, which would then be widely embraced by the Palestinian people in Gaza, which would then, in turn, I don't know, like you would see a domino effect with Hamas leadership?
What I would love to see first would be Hamas removed from power, period, before we have to have this domino effect. And again, Hamas has a stranglehold in Gaza, and I don't know that I see that happening anytime soon either.
Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. Well, hey, I'll definitely check out those clips. Thank you so much for your response. And yeah, I'll be calling in at some point with perhaps a few different questions for you about foreign policy. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate the phone call. Great to hear from you. I, as always, apologize to everybody I was not able to get to. But we will take calls again. We'll go to a quick break and be back with your questions after this.